Good afternoon, everyone. Monica Jazik here from Real Property Investments, bringing you your free weekly webinar that we have every Tuesday. And this Tuesday, we have a wonderful friend and book writing expert, Lindsay Allison. Hi, Lindsay. How are you doing today?
Hi, Monica. I'm doing so well. Thanks for having me on the show.
Lindsay is actually all the way from in Arizona right now, so we have a bit of a time difference. So I guess it's morning where you are now. Mm-hmm. And not only is Lindsay a fantastic friend, but she's going to walk us through, she is a book publisher, and she's going to walk us through a really, really important topic today. And the title of today's webinar is there an author in you? So Lindsay actually helped us write our book, Real Estate Mistakes. And this was done a few years ago, and I'm forever indebted to Lindsay because without Lindsay, I never would have written this book. It was an idea percolating in my mind for so long, and with Lindsay's skilled help and assistance, she took our book from my head onto the computer and into my actual hands right here. Real Estate Mistakes. From everything, Lindsay made this a reality. Now, the reason Real Property Investments is bringing you these free weekly webinars is because in COVID-19, people are in isolation. I don't know how bad it is there in Arizona, Lindsay, but here, in Ontario, and there's people tuning in all over the world here to this webinar, but we are in isolation and people have a lot more time on their hands. And people are also going through a lot emotionally at this time. And we thought, what better way to utilize some of this time, take up some of this pent up energy and these ideas that you may not be able to, put into your normal everyday life and really kind of create a book. Mm-hmm. So I do think that this is an amazing topic for this webinar, Lindsay, and I wouldn't have done this with anyone else but you because I've seen you doing so many amazing type workshops and sort of writing workshops and also emails on the importance of writing, the importance of self-expression, and all this sort of stuff. But I wanted to start off by thanking you so much for making Real Estate Mistakes a reality.
Thank you, Monica. I'm really, really, really happy that we got to work together, to say the least, and honors all mine. I feel very happy to have written that with you. It was a really exciting process.
And a quick process, too. Like a lot of people, I think they think it takes a lifetime to write a book, for sure. But
yeah, I think so. I think people do procrastinate on it a lot. Right now, while we're stuck inside, it is a great time. I've actually gotten a lot busier here while people have been inside and they can finally start writing. So I think it's a great time to actually get that idea that they've had for a while and just finally start, So it can take as long or as short as they want to, so it just depends on what their goals are and what their passion is.
Absolutely. And focus and help. Because I remember we were working with our business coach, Joey Ragona, and he had that fun challenge, write your book in 3 weeks. And our whole story is I said, Joey, use me as a guinea pig, because I always wanted to write a book, but I needed that challenge. I really kind of didn't know where to start. So he obviously said, we'll work with Lindsay because she'll help you bring it into a reality. But it was really through that structure that really kind of helped us get started and actually to finish this book, not in 3 weeks, but in, I think we were a little under 3 months, I believe, from actual concept to actual production, for sure.
Yeah, Joey Ragona is amazing. He and I, as you know, we worked together for a while, and he came up with that idea that you guys used in your writing process. So I'm really grateful for him. And he came up, with that idea of writing your book in 3 weeks, I believe it was. So did you guys actually use that system? And then
we did and we didn't. So it was definitely a great system to use, but I know you have an equally great system too, whatever, to really kind of drag it out. But I think it was mainly, it was the motivation, the accountability. So he had that great system where he's like, okay, like has actually, most people have a lot of ideas. And I mean, having a book is actually great for people for a bunch of different purposes, I think. So our real purpose, the real purpose for Real Property Mistakes, was not to be an authority, and it was not to be like a business card. Okay. So a lot of people have that as their main intention for writing a book, and it's very, very true. So that's a very good reason to write a book too, is if you want to be authority or have something that really kind of showcases your knowledge, your experience, your expertise, you should really kind of, do that. And if you have that, then that's where you can pull out old information that you need and compile it into a way from old blogs, from old giveaways, from old information. Joey would show you how to get that information, compile it into something that reads somewhat of a manual. That is a lot of information. This book, for anyone who's read it, it's pretty much my heart on this paper. And I think the reason why it's not, and it says right in the appendix, it wasn't written as Mensa, and it's not a how-to, it's an experience. And because I do have a writer's background, I was able to take that experience and pretty much put it out on the page in a very, very raw and emotional format. And it was really aimed to kind of help people not make the mistakes that we sort of made. But I remember working with you, I still didn't know how to get all these emotions and all these ideas, in the right order or in the right format that's desirable for a reader. So when people are writing their books, what is some of the first steps that you would recommend for people to get their book from their head into actually a concept?
Yeah, well, I remember when we worked together, it was 3 months. I think we took a summer, and we just interviewed. So that's one of the best ways. When the Awaken Press, I specialize in nonfiction self-help, and nonfiction self-help streams anywhere from meditation, spiritual books, or leadership, real estate, like we did together. And when you came with just, a few ideas, you had been working with writing before, you have the writing background. So when we came together, you already had a lot of material, and we already had a lot of stuff. So that was really fun and really exciting to work with, because you didn't have just, nothing. It was a bunch of ideas combined with writing. And that took us, a few weeks, but it was mostly through the interview process, I believe, to kind of extract that. We would get on editorial calls once a week and just kind of talk about, okay, what are you going to write in this chapter? What are you going to write in that chapter? And then you would do brain dumps every week, just get your content out there. And I think we kept reminding each other, just write what you feel, like just write what's going on, just write what's going on in your heart. Like you said, so what I love about your book is that it's actually your real experience, and you're not trying to, make it, like you said, like a business card. So although that does work sometimes, it's not in the long term effective to make a book like that, where it's just a business card. When we're talking about writing a book, we're talking about the art and craft of writing. We're not talking about some temporary thing where three years down the road, it looks like an outdated business card, So what I really love about your book is that they're real events, they're real experiences from people who have in your journey, and how you come through all these obstacles and challenges in your work, and people can learn from that. So, I really just want to work with that, people who have gone through the real experiences, and so it was really easy for you to write. Actually, once we got it out, it was you'd already kind of had this on your heart, and you had this idea for a while, and it was just about prompting you a little bit with some writing prompts and interviews, just to kind of like extract that. So that was pretty fun.
So do you find you interview most of your clients that you are helping publish their books? Is that like, what is normally walk us through the process of, say if someone on this webinar today sees you, they're here, they want to write their nonfiction book, whether it's to, promote their business so they can give to clients as a business card, which is great, or is it something they want to share with their clientele, or do they want to come as a point of authority, or maybe they want to even be the next bestseller. They want to be like on the New York Times selling list, So what is walk us through the process if someone was to contact you today? What should they expect? What would it kind of look like in regards to getting their book published?
Yeah, Monica, that's great. So first we connect for a call and we see if it's the right fit. We tune into each other on the call. It doesn't cost anything to have that initial call. And we just see if that's the right fit to work together. I start asking a bunch of questions about what they want with their book, where they're going, kind of like their book ideas. And then from that conversation, I start to understand one of their goals and missions as related to the book, because the book is just one piece or one large piece of their overall, vision of what they're creating for their life or what they're creating for their work in business. So, sometimes it's a giveaway, the book. Sometimes the book is a giveaway, which is great because it helps them with whatever they're working on. Sometimes the book, they have a passion for writing. They just want to get it out there. And then there's all these different reasons. So we really extract the different reasons for that. And then we work on a timeline. If we do decide to work together, let's say it's three months or 6 months, and sometimes a year. I've worked with people for 3 years on one project. So it really, I haven't gone beyond 3 years. But
so who was this, why was it 3 years? Because I'm used to the speedy process.
Right.
What was the main obstacle for who this person for 3 years? Was it the obstacle, the author, or was it the process? Because it must have been the author.
That is
the process is pretty cookie cutter.
That is so funny that you say that. Yeah, because the process is basically, yes, we do because it's nonfiction, self-help, mostly that we specialize in, and leadership, organization, real estate. It is an interview process that we do to extract the ideas, and then we put it on paper because you're the one with the idea. And then I just kind of coax that with my team to make that polished. But you're right.
Lindsay, what if you hate their idea? What if it's just incredibly boring? It's dull as nails. Do you kind of come in and be like, listen, I'm your reader and your idea is awful. It's not going to fly. Have you ever had to tell a client that?
This is so great. I love it. So in that case, the 3 years, that was the author. Actually, you're absolutely right. Because we had to work through a lot of breaking through barriers that they had in fears, that we had to stop and start a lot, but they didn't give up. They just kept going. So that was what was amazing. So we eventually finished it. But yeah, if that's the case, then I don't think any idea is boring. I think every idea has valid uniqueness to it.
But what if I'm a dentist and I want to write my book to create a port of authority? And my book is why you need to brush your teeth. Okay, and to me as a dentist, that's super important. You need to brush your teeth. And to me, this is the most interesting. And I go into this whole detailed book about the dissection of every single tooth.
Yes.
And what they are called and why it's important. And next thing you know, like we're into chapter 46 and we've covered every single like scientific outline of each tooth, which probably the only person in the world finds interesting would be the dentist or maybe another dentist, but they probably already know that. Would you kind of step in and be like, hey, we might want to, maybe the psychology of a smile?
Yeah, that's great. Maybe it's just me, but I really am very interested in people's
teeth?
ideas.
Teeth, Lindsay?
Yeah,
you're interested in teeth. You want to know the history.
Yeah.
I'm going to write that book for you.
Yeah, and where they come from, and of course, it might be dry in some areas. And then that's when I would step in and be like, okay, well, maybe we can reword this a little bit, but it really depends on what they're publishing for as well. It could be a textbook,
Yes.
for the medical industry. And so then in that way, it depends on the audience as well. So maybe it's boring to some people and maybe it's not to others. It depends on their audience and stuff. But yeah, I'd step in sometimes if maybe the idea along the way in the timeline and the process, kind of like what we did together, a little bit where,
You're saying my book was boring, Lindsay?
No,
I didn't make it.
I knew I'd get
for
caught
you.
on this
$1
one.
million of mistakes is not enough. You wanted more?
I knew I'd get caught on this one by the way I just worded it. With you and I, it was, you had this idea. Actually, one of the obstacles was you couldn't get sometimes you had so many juicy points, and it was sometimes hard to get it onto the paper and where to put all of the points so that there wasn't an overload. So there's that problem too. So it's the opposite of boring.
I'm just too exciting.
Yeah, and it's like when you have a lot of very crescendo points, or the top of the roller coaster points, which is a lot of what you had with all of the scenarios and experiences that you put in your book, with working with people and what you had to go through in that process. Then you have another problem kind of on the other side, and that's when we'd step into but I wouldn't change anything without your permission. So we get on a call and talk about it, and then we explain why maybe this doesn't work. Or maybe
you were incredibly diplomatic throughout the entire process.
Thank you.
I have to give you that, because I think every writer goes in and they have like what's important to us might not be important to the audience. And like you said, I really like how you said that. Yeah, maybe for us, teeth are boring, but the dentist crowd, that could be fascinating. And what is this extra information like? And what is the tone? And who is your audience? I think that's huge. Our audience is anyone who's looking to go into investing and is, we wanted to really kind of yank out those emotions. And so for an easy read, so it feels like they're almost there and they're going through the experience with us. Because chances are, all investors have been where we were at one point of this book. So I love how you definitely helped us set the tone in a natural thing, and you never changed that, but you did certainly professionalize the entire process. Because I could have gotten all that information out possibly in a blog or as the information, but what you really helped with is structuring. So let's go through kind of some of that, of what the Awaken Press, some of the struggles that authors have, not just getting their book on paper, but really kind of bringing them into reality. There's a lot of boring stuff that goes into the book publishing. I remember, I don't even think Real Estate Mistakes was supposed to be called Real Estate Mistakes. I think it was supposed to be called The Mistakes We Made in Real Estate, or something along those lines. We went through titles. Talk about the title of a book. So I remember everything behind this book. Like, look, guys, the cover, the words, the ISBN. ISBN, that was so gross. We're going to get to that. Like, it was awful. I think those are the things that you kind of help us overcome it and bring these things and make them be able to be sold on bookstores and Kindle and all that great stuff. What are some tips that authors have in writing their book? Why can't they just write their book? And why can't I put myself in the cover? I wanted myself on that cover. You did not let me go on this cover, Lindsay. So, like, are these kind of common mistakes that you see authors making?
That's amazing.
Why can't they do these things?
That's amazing, Monica. Thank you. Yeah, so I think the number one obstacle that new authors make especially is that they project themselves outward too far and think about publishing too much. So what that does is there's so much information out there about how to publish, you know, what the steps are. Not that that's a bad thing. It's really amazing to be able to have all this information at your fingertips, you know, but there's a distraction level that comes with that where they're still in the writing stage and they're thinking about publishing and they're getting overwhelmed, you know, by all of these different aspects that put the book together. So I like to take care of that part and try actually not to explain as much as possible unless I'm asked during the process kind of what happens. I kind of like to take care of that, but it can be broken down into really 3 simple steps, like everything. And it's writing, editing, publishing. And as long as that's broken down into 3 steps, we know where we're at during the process. So if you're in the writing stage, then we're only going to focus on the writing, the content. If we're in the editing stage, then we have, you know, a certain time frame that we're going to be using to work together to do the editing process, which is a lot different than just the raw brain dump and writing your content. And then the publishing piece is that last section on the timeline, where we do all of those other elements like ISBN and title and all these other, you know, boring
parts.
You know, that authors, and rightfully so, that writers and authors don't want to do, because, you know,
we
that
don't know how to.
Yeah, and like that, you know, right now the world is much different than it was even a few years ago, where self-publishing now is a thing, and now authors and writers are thinking about publishing too much almost, where they should be really focusing on the art and the craft of writing, and they should be really just focusing on finishing their book and just writing what makes them passionate to write about their book. What is it that made them want to write in the first place, you know, and really just focus on the craft and what their message is. And then, you know, I can take care of all the kind of mundane stuff. And it is mundane for a lot of people, you know.
Do you find it mundane, Lindsay?
I don't.
Excited?
I find it very. Maybe it's kind of the nerd part of me, but I'm just joking. But I find it very exciting. You know,
but it's very important, because these distinguishing factors are what brings our books from like to life. So yes, let's pretend you get past the point. Authors out there, you have this great idea. You manage to get it on paper. There is so much stuff behind the scenes that stops us from doing it. A confused mind does not act. Same with real estate investing. You know it's great. You want to do it. But it's these little minute details that you don't have to be the expert in everything. And it really kind of stops people. And I know firsthand the way I am is I would have stopped at that point if it wasn't for you. Now, I think that if you ever stop being a book publisher, a kindergarten teacher would be a perfect job for you. Because you have the patience of a saint, and you broke down these complex instructions step by step to the point as if I was a baby, an ESL baby, probably, to the point that I think you even kind of mailed something for me at one point. So it was always when we were applying for the ISBNs, you had to get us like tax information and US things and all these things, access to printers, instructions for printers. There were so many different complex things that you would never even know that goes into it. And documents had to be signed to get permission to actually be able to sell the book. And I remember you providing the templates, the step-by-step instructions that really kind of just made it brainless. I'm very slow. You see, I need things step by step and very, very spelled out for me. And I remember it was literally like, sign here, write this here, put this here, send it back for me. I will send it in for you. I will do this kind of for you, sort of thing. So do you find a lot of writers, like how many writers have come to you where they're at the point of they've had a great idea, they've dumped all the information on the paper, but they're kind of stuck at that point, like, oh my gosh, I have this great book. I'm a dentist and it's all about getting the whitest teeth ever, but I have no idea how to get this on bookshelves. I don't know how to sell this on Amazon or as a Kindle, or even how to get it in the right formatting. What do I do, Lindsay?
Thank you, Monica. I didn't realize that I was doing that, so that's really helpful feedback that you just gave me there. So that's great. I think that since I started doing this, since we work together, it's gotten even more simple, actually. So there's even less of a, for the author or for the writer in their perspective, there's even less of documents and stuff. So it's gotten even more simple since that time. But yeah, I've worked now with over 1,000 people. 51 of them writers and authors, and 21 published books. I think we've done more than that now. And out of that, 7 people that I've worked with has not worked out. So that's pretty good. I think that's a pretty good track record.
Well, why didn't they work? What was the problem? Was it the author? I know we can be very temperamental, right?
It was a mix of things at the time, because I opened the business in 2013 without knowing what opening a business was. I just knew writing, editing, and publishing because I'd come from that at a very young age. First being published, getting my traditional publishing deal at 16. So I came from like the traditional publishing world, and not knowing how to run a business per se. So a lot of it came from business and experience at that time. But now I think I've kind of encountered enough of those issues, at least knocking on wood, that I've kind of dealt with people from all walks of life, all different kinds of languages. I've translated one book from Portuguese into English, not me myself, but a team member. So that was pretty fun. That was pretty cool. And just kind of like, putting our heads down, and I have an amazing team that helps me now, whereas when we worked together, it was one-on-one. But now there's a couple of other editors on board, and I could not do this without them. So it was pretty amazing.
So people can actually transcribe their books, because we have people all over the world that are watching this, and we actually had someone ask, can you transcribe my book to Hindi?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, we're always working on new languages. One of my prayers was to have the Awaken Press books, including yours, be translated into all these different languages. So that would be fun, and we'll see what I can work with. But yes, I mean, I would be able to work with that right now and see what we can do. Yeah, I kind of forgot your original question there, but I don't know how I got down that train.
I know. I think I forgot too. I think maybe my next book should be on my ADD and my incapacity to follow up with my original questions. But no, I think we're talking about the failures of some of the past authors. You've had more success than failures. And I think you're right, Lindsay. Like, it is all about growing and having a team and working with authors too. It is very emotional. I think a lot of people probably, you get to a point where you want that information out there and then they cannot follow through. Sometimes I think you have to be very, very ready to write your book, especially a non-fiction book, because it really kind of has to mean something, to the author to sort of get that information out there if you want to have a really great book. Lindsay, how important in the book world is it to be a best-selling author? Does that have the same meaning as it used to mean when you grab a book and you're like best-selling author on the New York Times, or is there a bit of kind of hype around it? Is it BS, Lindsay?
This is a very good question. And I just want to say on the last note that I don't know everything. And I think it's important when I work with someone that we both have a beginner's mind, what my friend would call a beginner's mind about it, because we're both open to learning new things, to kind of unlearning some programs and habits and defaults. I want to say that, when two people work together, could have. So it's really important that we're always open for learning and yeah, like you said, kind of growing and doing more things. But yeah, the number one bestseller, that's a pretty interesting thing. I'd say it's still a pretty big deal. I think it's been over talked about a lot these days, as if that's going to solve the author's or writer's problems in life. I think it's written about too much a little bit in that perspective. But it's definitely a marketing tool that does work. It depends on how you utilize it. But it's definitely not the be all and end all for your book. You can do just as well without having a number one bestseller. If you think of the many classic books that have been published in the past, a lot of them never hit number one, and they've sold millions of copies. Maybe they've done number one later. But what it's really about is organic sales. That's what it all comes down to, just stripping away all of the kind of raw hype that gets people distracted. And let's get down to the basics. Let's get down to the bare bones of why you're writing in the first place. And let's focus on kind of like organic readership. And focus on who's actually going to read your stuff. And that's what it really comes down to. If people are going to buy your book, they're going to buy your book. And it doesn't matter if it's a number one bestseller or not, really. But it is
I guess it's what touches the reader or why they want to buy it. So let's walk people through this process again. You get their book, with us, you got our book, you got our ideas, you helped us organize them, you got us to the tough stuff, the cover, the cover design, these horrible ISBN here, smash words. You're on Amazon. We have tax stuff. It's like Lindsay's a writer, a publisher, an accountant, or everything. We get through all this stuff. See all this stuff, guys? Like, oh my gosh, all this stuff. It was horrible. But you did it, Lindsay. You made this come to life. How, after this point, now the book exists, you even got it printed for us. You got us with the printers. You guided us on that. So we have this actual book here, Kindle, hard copy. How do you help support writers get their book out there and let people know about their book?
Yeah, this is great. So I just wanted to also touch on the number one bestseller thing. If anyone wants to learn how to do it, I do have a free ebook copy on my website at theawakenpress.com. It's free, completely free. They can download it and they can learn like how that works. I do have to do an updated version of it this year, but you can email me if they have any questions. So that is the kind of like instructions if that's one of the distracting points. But what I like to do is really just walk hand in hand with the author, with the writer the whole time. So that's one of the ways of supporting getting the book out there. Since we've worked together, the systems that I have in place now have improved a lot, so it's changed a lot in the past 3 years. We just, my husband actually came up with it, a new marketing program to get the book out there more after it's published. So that's completely brand new and has been implemented in the first quarter of this year. I think it was March that he came up with it. And he said, hey, why don't you do this? I said, this is a great idea. And like, it basically solved all of the problems that the authors were dealing with getting their books out there. So there's a program now that we actually have in place for that, whereas I didn't have that before. So constantly growing and evolving with different things. But I think the point is that I like to be your partner, working partner. I do like to keep in touch as much as possible not only when we are working together, but even afterward. And then, friendships are developed after that as well. And so that's one of the ways. And then I do have a Facebook group now where it's a private one where people can kind of join on there. And just coming from the writer world, owning a business was new to me when I first opened it in 2013. So I'm learning all of these kind of business protocols, business perspectives. But what I really consider, but I really just have a passion for writing and helping people Right.
Mhm.
So if they have any questions, they can email me, and I'm pretty close. I try to respond all the time. So I try to maintain kind of like a vibe of you're my, I'm here, I'm available when you need it. I do try to do that, even though we've gotten a lot bigger. So yeah.
Yeah. Well, you say that you're not business, but to me, Lindsay, I mean, I've seen you in action. You are all business as well as
Thank
creativity.
you.
So you do have a 6-week course that is coming up, or that you just created. Did you want to tell us a bit about that? And if you have any screens that you want to share about the Awaken Press, about the course, feel free to do that as well.
That's great. Yeah. I'm very excited, Monica. Thank you. Because during this quarantine, where a lot of people are starting to write now because they've had these projects, the number one question that I got, and I had to not work with people or turn people away because, or they went somewhere else for whatever reason, and that's fine, because there wasn't enough support in how to write your book before we go into the editing process. So remember those 3 steps that we talked about: the writing, editing, and publishing. So this course that I just finished in the quarantine process, which has been really great, covers the writing aspect. So what it does is it helps people. It's called How to Write Your Nonfiction Self-Help Book. And it's a whole 6-week course on how to actually write your book. And it's a self-study. So although I'm not one-on-one, it helps me be able to serve more people who have this passion, so they can write their book and then be guided through that whole process. So I'm just going to share the screen here and see if this works. What it's saying is it'll stop your screen sharing.
That's
actually.
okay.
Okay.
I didn't even know if I was screen sharing.
Let's see here. So I've got this. Can you see it here?
Yes,
okay.
I see it.
So this is a hidden page on the website, because it's just being released on. It's just being released to the very first beta testers who have all signed up for it this week on May 24th. But what it is how to write your nonfiction self-help book. It's in beta testing mode right now. So this is the first launch or the first release of the course, and kind of what it looks like. So right now I've kind of just first set it up. Right now what it looks like, and it's available on June 8th for people who want to take the course, is I'll just show you some of these modules. So we go over like what this book is, what kind of story structure that you get, how to connect to your book, and then we talk about audience. So it just keeps going on. So basically by the end of the 6 weeks, you can have a completely finished book if you want, and the writing process. And you don't have to finish it in the 6 weeks. But they can come back to the material at any time, but it is designed in a 6-week format, but they can finish in the 6 weeks. But so this is something I'm super excited about.
So you give them all the tools that they need to take their ideas and put it out there, so they can get the skeleton pretty much of the book done in 6 weeks.
Yes, and some people are, I will say, slower, and that's fine, because they've had maybe more ideas that they've worked with before, so they don't have to finish it in the 6-week program, but they can write it in the 6 weeks.
So if they keep it takes them longer, say it takes them 1 year or something, they can still plug away at this for a year.
Yes.
Do they have any online support during the process?
Yes, they do. They can email me at any time. I'm completely connected to whoever takes the course. And there's also that online group on Facebook that has where you can post questions and answers. And then I post my own private support on that group. But
those Facebook groups are amazing. You know, how people, and you can also kind of, when one person has a question, other authors who are on there, the most times when there's one question, this is why we have our private online Facebook group for our members. And I always tell people, they'll email me privately, but post it on the group, because there's one question, there's 100 other people who have the same question, and people really help learn by hearing other people's questions and other people's struggles, and it helps them grow as well.
Yeah, and the reason why, so I love those Facebook groups too, and so this is the new course, and enrollment is going to start on June 8th for the new people who are coming through. But it's in beta testing mode right now. You'll see it, and so the first round of people get it at 120. So normally I think this is going to be like, I don't know, like 500 maybe, but it's definitely not going to be this low for that long. And so I want to see, if people find that helpful for them, because it is a self-study course, and how they can get involved with their own process, and then they can reach out to me and stuff like that. So that's the course, and I'm very, very excited about it.
$120 and you can write your book in 6 weeks.
I know, it's kind of crazy.
People, take this woman up on her offer. Stop the madness.
Crazy.
Make some use. Get off the television. Stop playing your video games. Write your book. You can call it your COVID-19 experience. My life in isolation. See, Lindsay, this is a book that we could write together. Mm-hmm. My life in isolation. It's all going to be about me running away from 4 kids who do not go away. Oh my God. Or how about my life as a homeschool teacher?
I love all these titles you're coming up with, Monica. This is great.
Me jumping off a bridge. Ah,
no.
My God. No, but seriously, I know everyone's going through a lot of different experiences, a lot of different emotions. Some people have more time on their hands, more time to process. I think writing a book is something that everyone really wants to experience. So everyone, you could see in the top of this screen, it's theawakenpress.com. And this is where you can learn more about Lindsay. So I thank you, Lindsay, for coming on. This is an amazing offer. Keep this screen up while we finish. That's totally fine, because I want to make sure people get your email address written down on this total URL. So guys, you really should reach out to Lindsay and take advantage of this amazing offer. Usually when things are in beta mode and stuff, this is, like she said, this is going to be $500 soon. So, which I still think, Lindsay, is way too cheap for this.
You were saying that too.
Compared to what other people are charging. So we should definitely talk about that. But maybe if I want to take the course, I should tell you after I've already signed up for this thing. So
thank you, Monica.
But thank you so much, Lindsay, for coming on. And thank you, everyone, for coming on our free Tuesday weekly webinar. I hope you found this beneficial. We do have really fun and interesting webinars every week, and they don't have to do with real estate. It really is more to kind of break people out of their COVID-19 routine and give them information that's going to help them and will be somewhat beneficial. Next Tuesday, we actually have Sandy Rutherford, who works with Bob Proctor, and she's talking about life, wealth, and health coaching and mastery. So it doesn't always have to be about real estate, but obviously real property investments. We are primarily wealth builders and wealth real estate. But remember, wealth is not just money. It's also mindset. It's also development, because we want you always growing. So make sure to hit subscribe on our YouTube channel, because we are going to be publishing this there as well, along with all of our editions of the Real Property Report every Saturday. Make sure you tune in Saturday, and the videos are there on YouTube as well after the fact, because we have a COVID-19 playlist alongside all our real estate, all our wealth building stuff. We actually have a dedicated playlist to the COVID-19 filled with a bunch of interesting topics to help you break your routine. But if you don't hit subscribe, you're not going to be notified. So my giveaway here is go to our YouTube channel and hit subscribe. And anyone who does that, send me a message, let me know. I'm going to actually send you a free copy of our book, Real Estate Mistakes. It will be sent to you, obviously, an electronic version. You'll receive the full copy. This is for sale on Kindle for, I think, about $15 for the Kindle version. And if you do want to check that out, it is thanks to Lindsay, who got the ISBN and all the stuff organized. It's on Amazon, amazon.ca, Real Estate Mistakes. Thank you so much, Lindsay. It's an honor and a privilege to be your friend, to be your coworker, to work with you. I love working with smart, interesting people, and you definitely are one of them. And thanks everyone else for tuning in Have an amazing day, and I hope to see you all on an upcoming webinar soon. Bye, everyone.